So Cyberpunk is upon us. It's been around for a week and it's had its fair share of bugs, glitches and everything in between. But we wanted to take this opportunity to test it on, well, 40 GPUs. Let's do this. I wish these files would transfer faster. Come on! Whoa, is that the FireCuda 510 NVMe drive with its blistering fast speeds of 3450 megabytes a second read, 3200 megabytes a second write, and capacities of up to 2 terabyte? I can have these files transferred in no time. And if I'm looking for the ultimate performance, I could even get the 4th generation FireCuda 520. I better check the link in the description to find out more details. So as I mentioned, the game itself has had bugs, it's had glitches, it's had crashes to desktop on a variety of different platforms, from people running AMD processors, Intel processors, NVIDIA graphics cards, AMD graphics cards, new and old. But CD Projekt Red have been pretty vocal about it and said they are going to fix everything. Personally, I'd like to see these fixes in some way of just here and there, rolling it out, so that it kind of feels like things are improving steadily, instead of just one big update, which could come at, well, any time. It is worth noting that console users have had it a lot worse, even with Sony pulling it from the PlayStation Store and even offering refunds. But at least on the PC side of things, we can play the game. Admittedly, you may end up crashing to desktop, seeing some weird and wonderful bugs and glitches that won't allow you to progress in the game, but at least it's playable, right? But for those who don't have the game, you are probably eager to know exactly how it performs. And while there is other videos out there that have tested it on a smattering of GPUs, we wanted to take it one step further. So yes, our video is coming out a little bit later than most people's, but I definitely think it's worth it because we tested 40 GPUs, which is just completely, well, crazy. So what GPUs did we test on? Well, here's just a small selection of them. We tested on 1650s, we tested on the latest and greatest AMD cards, we tested on, of course, 3080, 3070, 3060 Ti, 3090, and so much more. So I'm pretty confident that no matter what GPU you have, unless you're rocking something from, the ARC, you're gonna find something here for you. So let's run them glorious benchmarks. So with the benchmarks out of the way, I do want to make something very, very clear, because when this game launched, a lot of people said, I'm only getting 32 frames per second on my card, I'm only getting 48 frames per second on my card. Everyone's trying to strive for that glorious 60 FPS number, and I get it. I was in exactly the same boat. 60 FPS or go home. Well, this game is completely different. For me, and anyone who watches me on Twitch will know that I actually stream this game, and I have to stream it with VSync enabled to 30 frames per second because Twitch just doesn't like this game. Streamlabs OBS just doesn't like this game, and it seems the only real workaround is doing display capture instead of game capture and setting it to 30 FPS. And to be fair, it runs buttery smooth. I mean, we have to remember, this isn't a fast-paced run and gun kind of game. This isn't CSGO, it's not Fortnite, it's not Valorant. So yes, 30 frames per second is more than enough. So if you have got one of them older GPUs, one of them maybe, not as glamorous GPUs, you haven't got RayTracing, you haven't got DLSS, don't worry, you're still in luck. But what about trying to get more performance? Well, Reddit have been very, very vocal about this, especially when it comes to AMD CPUs. For the most part, someone has actually found a fix that kind of utilizes the CPU just a little bit more. From their own research and findings and the Reddit community as a whole, they have found that, well, AMD processors just aren't being utilized to their full potential. Now, what I mean by that is you could have a 6-core 12-thread processor. You could have an 8-core 16-thread processor. The game itself is only actually utilizing the physical cores and not the multi-threaded aspect of the processor. So what does that really mean? What can be done? Well, with the simple kind of fix through a hex editor, which you can download online, finding the Cyberpunk exe file, and just simply editing, well, 2 characters of code in there, you're kind of unlocking the sheer performance. But that does come with a caveat. Now, we tested on a Ryzen 3900X, which is a 12-core, 24-thread processor. The problem there is, well, games don't generally utilize that amount of cores. Now, through our own testing, we've actually found that any processor that is 12 cores or up, so we're talking 3900X, 5900X, 5950X, 3950X, Threadripper, anything like that, at least on the AMD side, it actually had, well, the opposite effect. I mean, looking at some of the results that we tested ourselves, we were seeing drops of up to 10 frames per second at 1080p on a 6800 XT with the fix enabled, and up to 16 frames per second on a 3080 at 1080p. Now, at higher resolutions such as 1440p, 4K, and then 4K with ray tracing, DLSS, and a combination of the two, the drops weren't as significant, talking about 2 to 3 frames per second difference. Still, no one wants to see any drops in their games, so it is worth noting that unless you have a 4-core, 6-core, maybe even an 8-core threaded processor, at least from Team AMD, yeah, this fix isn't going to be for you. If you have got one of them processors, fine, go ahead with it if you're happy to edit that line of code. It's quite simple and there's a lot of guides out there, especially on Reddit. So yeah, there you go guys. Hopefully this has given you a bit of an idea as to how Cyberpunk performs at the moment. And I'm not completely closed to the idea of revisiting this in the future once some of these fixes come out from CD Projekt Red, whenever that may be. Let me know as well, where does your card kind of sit in this stack? Obviously, we tested on a 3900X because what's the point in testing on one of the new Ryzen processors? Because frankly, with the whole stock situation, you can't even get one anyway. So hopefully our system is a little bit more representative of what you guys are rocking at home. There you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know exactly what to do, and I will see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye, and Merry Christmas.